welcome to class. Learn meditation and self-hypnosis. And I am Holly Stokes with the Brain Trainer. I've been meditating for 20 plus years. It's made a huge impact in my own life, and I love sharing these skills. There are a few things that I have used on such a consistent, profound basis that has really enriched my life in so many ways. And you're gonna love these skill sets. As we're going through, what we're going to cover in class 1 of this series today is we're going to look at what are some of the common blocks, like why don't we meditate, what is meditation, how do we start getting our mind on board, and how to get your mind working for you. As well as we're going to be giving you some simple tools and ways to push back some of the common blocks when people are starting to learn to meditate. So this series is so much fun. You're going to love it. With this class, you'll also get the recordings. I'll have handouts from the slideshow available to you as well. And you'll also get the videos from this. So here we are, learn meditation and self-hypnosis. So I just wanted to kind of share with you the list of things that I've used meditation for. And as we go through, you're going to definitely get some of the different strategies of applying meditation for your own self-growth, your own personal improvement, but even for areas of self-healing, that what can our mind do for us. So when I was 19, here's my first, be sharing more of these stories, but one of the very first experiences that I had that had such a remarkable impact for me, I was in my early 20s, and we were doing some cliff jumping, which is you get on this sand dune hill and you jump off the top, but it's not sand, it's like little hard-dried clay pebbles, but it kind of acts like sand. Well, I was jumping off this the third time I jumped off this overhang or this little hill. I spiral fractured one of my legs. Both of the bones spiral fractured all the way up the bones. So of course I went to the doctor, he set my bone, and I didn't really think about it. I just expected, okay, my body's going to heal that, and I didn't worry about it too much. Well, I went back to the doctor about 4 weeks later, and the doctor took a look at my x-rays and the progress with healing. He's like, you know, you should be healing. You're a young person. You are healthy. Your body should be healing, and it's not healing itself the way that I thought. So the doctor said if it doesn't get better, we're going to have to do some kind of surgery to start getting that bone to heal itself back together, to knit those bones back together. So luckily, I had just learned meditation from my first meditation instructor or mentor. And so what I was using it for, after visiting the doctor, I was a little bit worried. I didn't want to do another surgery. They already had some pins in my leg. And so every day I took at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go through meditation. And in my mind, I imagined like sewing the bones back together, knitting them back together with little, like in my mind, I saw threads of light. I imagined threads of light knitting my bones back together. So I went back to the doctor, and 3 weeks later, he said, this is amazing. Your leg is well beyond where we expected it to be. And it just really turned it around. So not only from that, but so many other things that I've used meditation and self-hypnosis skills for as well. And I'm going to definitely be sharing with you the basics to get started, but also if you're already meditating, how to really harness your mind to expand your skill sets and even apply the power of your mind to so many areas of life. Here's my disclaimer. Of course, this class is for the purposes of natural health education, using your conscious awareness in your mind. Holly Stokes, the Brain Trainer, LLC, do not diagnose, treat, or cure illness or disease. If you have a health issue, it is recommended you check with your qualified health practitioner. And any of the skill sets I'll be sharing in here can certainly augment or be complementary to any health focus that you're doing. And I'm going to show you how meditation really can speed healing and really works with your body's natural healing processes as well. So meditation is as old as humankind. From the very beginning, there are so many ways that we were tapping into meditative states, even before the word of meditation was coined or before there was a practice or divisions of meditation. So if you think about even those, you might have had a time staring at a campfire, even staring at a candle and watching the flames of the fire just moving back and forth and looking back and forth. And as you're watching those fire flames, that can put you into a meditative state. It's a great exercise to build a fire, especially during the winter, and watch those flames and notice how your mind gets quiet or gets a little bit spacey or even clear as you're focusing on the flames. So there's many different ways or many different ways to tap into these meditative states. And some of these ways you might have already been doing, but you just didn't recognize them as meditation. So as we go through, I'm going to share more tools and skills with you so that you can recognize these meditative states, as well as build a dynamic practice to really boost your own meditation practice. So there's so many ways that you might already be tapping into meditation states. So there, meditation and trance states that we find in hypnosis and self-hypnosis are actually natural states of the mind. We're going to be talking more about that and what that means. So even if you spend time in nature, 4 hours, or sitting on the ocean is also another way to get your mind into that clear space, that trance state. Staring at water, staring at fire, spending more than 4 hours in nature, your mind will start to quiet down as you're listening to the sounds of the outside or being in a beautiful natural setting. That can take you into a meditative state very quickly. Also, other states that you might have noticed are also part of self-hypnosis meditation. Imagining. Whenever you imagine, or when children imagine, they get very creative and they're mapping things out in their mind or building things in their mind. That's a form of meditation. Daydreaming is also a form of that as well. We're going to be talking more about the zone states and flow states, but those can definitely be those meditative states where our mind gets clear and we're totally focused in the moment on the activity that we're doing. And we might even experience that sense of timelessness. So you might even look through your life and notice, what are the activities or the things that you do in your life that help your mind tap in to that sense of timelessness, that expansive state of mind? And we'll be dialing into that a little bit more. Also, we look around the world, human ceremony is often very meditative or even eliciting trance states within the people following that ceremony. Ritual is the same, and we're going to talk about how these also tap into these meditative states. Also, meditation can improve or enhance your spiritual practice or prayer. Even prayer is a form of meditation. And of course, you can deepen that meditative state along with your prayer as well, which is one of the first things that I noticed when I learned to meditate, is that it really enhanced my spiritual connection and even the prayer that I had already had a habit of doing. So be aware, look for what are those states of mind where you find, here's another good example. We say driving down the freeway, if you've found yourself driving down the freeway and you've missed a freeway exit, that is a hypnosis state, that your body is on autopilot and your mind was kind of somewhere else. So anytime that you find yourself on autopilot, that is also a trance state or a meditative state as well. So kind of think about, where are the times and places, activities in your life where you experience that zoning out or that flow. Zone is more used in terms of athletes. People who do running often tap into meditative states, or any kind of physical activity that requires a lot of focus can also tap into those flow states as well. So chances are there's many ways that you are already tapping into these meditative states. It is a natural state of mind, and it can have a lot of benefits to not only your mental clarity, your intuition, your inner connection, but also to really enhancing your body's ability for its natural self-healing. So as I was doing research several years ago on looking at the science and the research behind meditation, I found a great article, and it had the top 20 benefits proven by science of meditation. And so I just want, these are so juicy, I just thought to line them out and share them with you here. I will also be sending this out, or you'll have this form able to download the top 20 proven benefits of meditation proven by science. So it boosts your health. We're going to talk about that more specifically too, and the ins and outs of how it can be used to improve your health specifically, as well as just getting into a relaxed frame of mind has a lot of benefits to your nervous system, to how your body is functioning, and how it is in its own inner self-healing process. So not only does it increase your immune system, your immune function, it decreases pain and decreases inflammation at the cellular level. So if you have any kind of health issue or even physical discomfort, a meditative practice can be a great enhancement to your path to healing. And here's the next set of these top 20 benefits proven by science. Meditation boosts happiness. So it increases positive emotion. You might have had the experience of sitting down to meditate, and you are letting your mind go into that place of timelessness or expansion. And it's like you can let go of your cares of the day, the worries, and just get into that place of inner clarity. It can also decrease depression, especially with meditation practice over time. It can decrease anxiety. It can decrease stress. And this can be really useful and valuable if you're experiencing anxiety, depression, stress. Developing a daily practice. I can't stress that enough, and we're going to be talking about that more as well. But really doing a daily practice can be so beneficial to helping your mind build up those positive emotions and those positive feeling states. Think of it kind of as a muscle, a meditation muscle, that with daily practice, you're tuning your mind into that place, but also building a habit so that your mind doesn't go down those dark holes that it might have been prone to. I've definitely also seen that in my life as well. Definitely had a lot of stress roller coaster where meditation has made a huge difference. Meditation boosts your social life. So it can increase your social connection, but also what I really liked about this is emotional intelligence. And all of these have research behind them that you can reference. I'll be sharing that article with you as well. But meditation has a way of decreasing feelings of loneliness, but also increasing your sense of social connection. And also the empathy, what you notice in other people's emotional system and how you're reflecting that. It builds that emotional intelligence, that awareness of what others are feeling and what you're feeling. It's also, meditation makes you more compassionate and feel less lonely. So even in your social life, whether you meditate alone or with groups, it can really augment what you're experiencing within your relationships. Meditation boosts self-control. So it improves your ability to regulate your emotions, just creating that inner quiet space. Not only is it useful for recognizing what those emotions are and what you're feeling, but it also improves your ability to understand your emotional system. Part of the mindfulness strategy that we'll be going through taps into this as well, that our current culture, we're all kind of so busy and overscheduled. We're moving from one thing to another really distracted. We might feel a negative emotion, but what do most of us do? We don't want to deal with it now, and so we bury it, we avoid it, we dismiss it, but that emotion keeps coming around. So here's another way that meditation can really help, is that it helps you to not only regulate your emotions, but also to improve your understanding about your emotions and where they're coming from and what those emotions are telling you. I like to see emotions as messengers rather than seeing them as good and bad. So what can you ask about what that emotion is telling you? Now, I thought this was fascinating. Meditation changes your brain. It actually increases the gray matter. So the gray matter is the stuff on the outside, the cortical thickness, that is focused with higher reasoning and concentration. It also increases the volume in areas of emotion and regulation, positive emotions, and self-control. So again, helping with your emotional system. Your meditation also increases cortical thickness in areas related to paying attention. So it can also help improve focus and attention. So many of the symptoms that people are experiencing, ADD, ADHD, I can't focus, I can't sit down and do one thing at a time. Well, a lot of those symptoms behind ADHD and ADD, can't focus, get distracted easily, can't pay attention. A lot of that comes from the stress that we have in our lives and the stress habits or patterns that our brain is running. So creating a daily practice with your meditation can also build up that inner muscle of inner clarity, inner focus, but it can also change your brain. How amazing is that? Okay, so meditation also improves productivity. Now, it's actually physically making some changes in your brain, but as it's improving productivity, of course, these kind of go hand in hand. So we're reducing stress and we're boosting productivity all at the same time. So when our stress habits patterns start to decrease, our brain's ability to focus, to be more productive, even to multitask, which may not always be great, but improving your memory, improving your ability to think creative and think outside the box can also improve. And then I liked also this point 20, meditation makes you wiser because you're increasing your ability for that self-reflection and connecting with people and that mindfulness as well. So I thought these were so interesting to really go through the whole list and take a look at them. And here's the author of the article that had pulled all of this research together to show how these top 20 benefits were proven by science. But I really liked this quote. Meditation is quite simply mental hygiene. Think of clearing out the junk, tune your talents, and get in touch with yourself. So think about it. You shower every day and clean your body, but have you ever showered your mind? Yes, I do. As a consequence, you'll feel more clear and see things with greater perspective. So that's Emma Sapala, the author of the top 20 list. But this was a great analogy. I love the shower idea. Every day we're doing things to brush our teeth and clean our hair and wash our body. But are we cleaning out our mental junk? Are we letting go of what we need to let go of? Or are we carrying more baggage around with us than we need to? So I love that quote. The common reasons, meditation is gaining a lot more traction as to its acceptance. It's even doctors recommending clients take a meditation class or learn some mindfulness training or some different ways of focusing and quieting the mind. And we can see in all of the research is coming out and validating what we've already known for so many years about so many benefits in how meditation can benefit us on a daily basis. But why aren't we doing it? Well, here's the things, and we're going to be talking about how to shift our thinking about meditation so that we can overcome some of these simple blocks around meditation. So probably the biggest one is people think, I want to meditate, I just don't know how. So definitely through this class, you're going to be getting simple and easy ways to get started, but also how to build your practice and how to expand that practice into states of self-hypnosis or really programming, working with your mind to create more traction in any area of your life. So I'll be sharing those skills with you. Here's one, it's too woo-woo. You know, meditation is weird. Well, meditation are actually natural states of mind. We move in and out of meditative states, even on a daily basis. We just may not have noticed it. Most of us might even think of meditation as sitting cross-legged in a quiet room for an hour and not thinking anything. So meditation can take many forms. It doesn't have to be a day on a mountainside, or it doesn't have to be an hour with doing nothing. So we're going to explore a lot of these different ways to get into meditative states and tap into it. So here's another, block that people might have. Meditation is boring. I can't think about just sitting and doing nothing for a space of time. So I get it. The mind likes to be busy. And we call it the monkey mind. It's busy, it's moving around, it always wants to have something to do. So I have some easy tools to help get you past that as well. Some people also say, I get too distracted. I say, okay, I'm going to meditate, and I start thinking to meditate, and then instead of clearing my mind or blanking my mind kind of wanders off or goes down some rabbit hole. And that's pretty common with the busy monkey mind. Whenever we give it quiet space, it wants to do something. So when we give it some quiet space, what does it do? It starts running through our grocery list, or running, oh, I didn't change the wash from the washer to the dryer. It starts running around and doing, thinking about all the to-dos or the tasks that we're supposed to do. So there's some easy ways to get past that one. I don't have time. So many of us feel overstressed, overscheduled. And seriously, I'll be sharing with you just even 5-10 minutes a day to start building your daily practice can really get you past this block. If you are more focused, calm, productive, have a better time with problem solving and making decisions, how can you, just the small amount of time that you might spend with cleaning out your own mind or clearing your own mind can make you so much more productive and effective in your day-to-day life. So the time that you invest in some meditation with yourself every day can really build up your productivity and your clarity, getting more things done, or even prioritizing what's truly important versus what's just busy work. Again, that goes with the next block that people might have is, I'm too busy to meditate. I've got too much to do to meditate. Okay, maybe even just 5-10 minutes of quieting and clearing your mind can help you prioritize. Are these things that you have to do, are they really important? Or are there ways to streamline your day-to-day routine that you can be more effective and more productive? So just some ideas about where we're going here and get some of these blocks. And just think about meditation doesn't have to be an hour or 2 hours, which certainly can be very enriching, and if you have the time to do that. But I also want to share with you some easier ways to get started and to share with you how these benefits can really benefit your mind, body, spirit system, even with just a few minutes a day. Meditation is a practice where an individual uses a technique such as focusing their mind on a particular object, thought, or activity to achieve a mentally clear and emotionally calm state. As we're going to be going through, I'm going to be sharing a lot of different ideas about how to meditate, and you're going to be recognizing some ways work better for you than other ways. And there are many ways to apply meditative states to tasks or things in life that you might already be doing. We'll be sharing more of that with probably the third class as we go through. So keep in mind that if one strategy doesn't work for you, just try out the next strategy. You might find a better connection with a different tool or technique than another one. And so as we go through, I want you to have a multiple set of skill sets that you can draw on. So even if you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that you'll have those skills for harnessing your mind, focusing your mind, and getting it into action for you. About the 1970s, Dr. Herbert Benson wrote the relaxation response. And he had been interested in transcendental meditation. And he even noticed that certain people that had meditated for windows of time, over, windows of time, they tended to be more calm, more clear, more focused. And he, even as he was learning transcendental meditation, he wanted to know, okay, what's going on that is causing such a difference for people? And so as he was learning meditation, and specifically transcendental meditators, he did some research and he hooked up transcendental meditators to an EEG, an electroencephalograph, and it showed and measured brainwave patterns during meditation states. So from that work, he did a lot more research on, some of the effects of meditation, self-healing, meditation, and different aspects of how people will use it. And athletes also found quite a bit of, there's a bunch of research on athletes using meditative states as well to improve their performance. But what I wanted to share with you are these brainwave patterns. And so you can see this brainwave pattern that is recognized in the research is a beta brainwave. So a beta brainwave is like our day-to-day mind. It's very busy, it likes to have things to do, and it's characterized. Now in this brainwave pattern, we're seeing hertz is the wave length, hertz is the wave, and the window here is 1 second. So it's waves per second. So the beta brainwave that's pictured here is characterized by 16 to 31 hertz or waves per second. So it's a busy mind. It tends to be kind of a scattered thinking. Our mind is bouncing from one thing to another, and it tends to be, that's what we call kind of the busy mind or the monkey mind. So when the researchers hooked these meditators up to the EEG, electroencephalograph, they started to notice that people's brainwave patterns were not only slowing down from this beta brainwave, but they were getting more consistent, more, controlled firing across the brain. So the brainwave tends to be more scattered thinking, more busy mind across the brain, whereas the next brainwave state is a slower wave. It's waves per second, 7 to 14 waves per second. It's characterized by slower wave, but also more synchronized electrical impulses across the brain. So once we slow the mind down, and we tend to do this with, well, I'll be sharing the tool with you here in a minute, but as we kind of calm the mind and slow the mind down, then that brainwave pattern also synchronizes. And we're going to talk a little more about what these different brainwave states mean as well. Then if people were meditating for a while, then they would go, when they started to meditate, they'd get into an alpha wave. As they continued to meditate, they would start to show a theta brainwave pattern, which is even a slower brainwave, characterized by 4 to 7 waves per second, or hertz here is the frequency. And it's slower, it's even more synchronized across the brain, so you have less firing through your brain, but more synchronized. Now we also go through these brainwave states when we sleep. So this is a natural brainwave pattern that our mind is doing anyway, especially when we sleep. And then finally, the delta brainwave pattern. Now this one is characterized, it's a very slow firing and frequency in your brain, and its delta waves are up to 4 hertz per second. So again, it's like the slowest pattern. It's also characterized by deep dreamless sleep. So when your brain is not really functioning, well, I shouldn't say it that way, but when you're in a deep dreamless sleep, then your brain is doing this very slow delta brainwave pattern. However, transcendental meditators who had been meditating for a solid window of time were emitting or showing this delta brainwave pattern. So even while they were still awake and aware at a conscious level, their brainwave could slow down this much. So this is interesting to know, but how do we understand this? So this is a good image, is the image of the iceberg. So that's on this right-hand side, the image of the iceberg. And just like an iceberg, there's a little part above the water, which is what we are consciously aware of. So the part above is symbolic, representative. Sorry, my words are missing me. So the mind has some layers in how it operates. And the part where we're doing our active planning, goal setting mind, our day-to-day mind, I got to do this, I got to get that done. It's kind of like our monkey mind, right? But that's where we're setting goals and saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get to the gym, whatever it is. But that's in our day-to-day mind at the conscious level, that's a beta brainwave. It's scattered thinking. It's a lot of brain activity. The mind is kind of jumping from one thing to another. And that's the brainwave pattern most of us are used to operating in on a daily basis. But now, this is how it stacks up with these brainwave pattern changes and these layers of our mind. So as we start to go into meditative states, our brain actually slows those wave patterns and it synchronizes its electricity, its electrical firing across the brain. So it slows into more of an alpha wave. We're going to talk about what each of these waves help us to achieve or experience. But as we continue to meditate, we can even tap into, in deep healing states, is more connected with the theta brainwave as well. And then deep dreamless sleep is characterized by the delta brainwave. So typically we won't be tapping into those, but it is a natural state of mind, especially when you sleep, characterized by that deep dreamless sleep. So here's how these brainwave patterns kind of measure up to the layers of our awareness. That the conscious mind is usually operating in beta. When we start to meditate, we get into alpha. As we start getting into those alpha states, it also starts tapping into the layers of the mind that are below the surface. So here is the iceberg is a great way to explain these layers of the mind. There's the top part above the water that we see, that we're aware of. That's like our conscious mind, our day-to-day goal planning. But what's really going on is the stuff below the surface. What is our automatic mind thinking and feeling at those deeper layers that we might not even be aware of, but it still affects what we focus on and what we do versus what we don't do, how motivated we feel, or if we're falling off the wagon. So this layers below the waterline there also represents the unconscious mind. I like to call the unconscious mind the automatic mind, because it's in charge of what's ever running automatically in the background. So when we stack up the brainwave patterns to these layers of the mind, we can recognize with the alpha states, we can start tapping into the awareness of our automatic mind, and even theta is where we start working on those layers of the mind. So here is also what is associated with these different layers of the mind. The conscious levels, the stuff above the surface, everyday active planning, goal setting mind. We're setting our goals. Often we're stressed in beta mind, moving from one task to another. And so most everybody has the experience of the beta mind, right? So we start going into alpha states, and here's where we start tapping into our subconscious mind. So as we mentioned, flow states can also be part of this going into those alpha states. That feeling of timelessness or being fully in the moment, we're also tapping into those alpha brainwave states. Alpha is also brainwave states associated with that inner calm. This is also where we're tapping into improved memory and even into our own intuition. It's kind of like our intuition is always running, but our busy mind is running through so many things, it doesn't notice what the intuitive mind is saying. So alpha can help us start tapping into some of those states. Now, theta has also been characterized with not only improved memory or deep learning, but also speed our healing. And then of course the delta is more deep dreamless sleep. So there's kind of some controversy around hypnosis states and whether they're tapping into theta or delta. Mostly what we'll be experiencing with the meditative states is more of the alpha into theta, as we're, this is a useful reference to recognize that as we're going through meditation practices, we can also start tapping into these layers of the mind, but also updating our automatic mind to be more focused, to be more aware of those patterns and programs that it's running, and also to help shift. I like to say it's about helping the automatic mind shift its focus so it can be more useful for you rather than working against you. Okay, so here's the basic structure of how to meditate. Now, this is also outlined in Herbert Benson's book, The Relaxation Response, and it's a good kind of idea to keep in mind, these 4 basic points to get started with meditation. So the very first one is just having a relaxed state. And the relaxed state, you know, when you're first starting to learn to meditate, it's a good idea to sit up so that your body is relaxed, but you're still keeping yourself propped up. And then that way, if you're laying in a chair, it's easy to fall asleep. Or if you're laying down in a bed, our mind also associates that with sleep, so that's also easier to go into a sleep state rather than just a meditative state. So you'll want to find a comfortable position for your body. The second point, body must be comfortable. Now this is a good strategy to begin with. It must be comfortable at first, but as we go through this class, I'm going to share with you some different ways to access dynamic meditation states to get that meditation state up and moving for you. And then the third one is the passive attitude. And there's some different ways to tap your mind into that. And then the fourth is the focal point. So if you look at meditation practices around the world and around cultures, there's usually these 4 key elements that are happening in that meditation state. So the most common meditation state, or the most popularized, would be to blank the mind. So we're going to do this as our first exercise, just to blank your mind. And I'm not going to give you much more instruction beyond that, but we're going to just take a few minutes here. So you can do this with your eyes open, your eyes closed. It's probably easier with your eyes closed so that you're not distracted with the visuals here on the computer screen. And I'm just setting the timer here. And we're just going to do 3 minutes. Okay. So go ahead and just sit back, relax, get comfortable. Those first 2. And the time has started now. And you might want to close your eyes. And only 3 minutes, just blank your mind. There we go. Okay, that was 3 minutes. So I'm going to stop the recording here, or stop the screen share. I'm going to open up the sound and do a little bit of discussion about that to see how that worked for you. So I'm going to stop the screen share. We're going to open up gallery. Okay. So with the exercise of doing 3 minutes, just blanking your mind, how did that go? Who would like to start sharing first? Oh, sorry, you're on mute. I'm gonna unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. With the clearing your mind meditation, I always get really easily distracted by any noise, or it depends on the time of day too. At the end of the day, I've noticed there's a lot more going on in my mind because I have the whole day to think about. So I'm constantly just bringing my mind back.
Yeah.
And so that's hard for me.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually really hard for most people because, you know, the busy monkey mind, it just wants to have stuff to do. And you give it quiet space and it's like, oh, quiet space. What's in the fridge? You know, it starts running through task lists, or what did that person mean by what they said, or, you know, whatever your mind does. Yeah. So it is very common to feel like it's distracted. And I think this is one of the reasons too that people feel like they can't meditate, because they're trying to just blank the mind. So I'm going to show you in a minute how to kind of get beyond this. What about you, Jennifer? Okay. What was your experience?
It's very similar. You know, all of a sudden I'm trying not to think about it, and all of a sudden I find myself thinking about my keyboard. I mean, I'm like, and why am I thinking about my keyboard? Because I'm thinking, oh, at least it's not an active thing, but it's the same idea that it's still gone to something, even though it was not about the day. My mind's still trying to find something to think about. So I laughed. I almost laughed out loud. I'm like, keyboard, really? I mean, it's just one of those things that you go,
how random can it be?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just so same idea, that it's just hard to, hard to stop it.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. It's here's a good analogy that I saw, is that when people start learning to meditate, it's like them running into traffic and trying to stop cars, you know, because your mind is like this stream of thoughts that's going through your brain. And so just trying to blank it, say, stop. It's still flowing, right?
Right.
So we'll come back to that analogy too. So here's, so remember those 4 points. 1 is a relaxed state, like having your body physically relaxed. 2, being comfortable. You know, if you're too cold or you're too hot, those can be distractors. Or if you're outside meditating and there's a little zzz, there's always one mosquito trying to buzz in your ear. That's going to be distracting for anybody, right? So there's 2, relaxed state, being comfortable. Now the other 2 points can be really useful in how we incorporate this into our practice. So I'm going to mute everyone, and we're going to go through the next section here. Oh, mute all. I'm going to screen share. Yep. Okay. Okay, so as we just experienced, this most common form of trying to blank our mind is actually, often it can kind of set people up for failing, because it's really hard. It's like that moving train. Your thoughts are moving past, and then you're telling your mind, don't think anything. It's just really not used to that. And it can be kind of hard, you know, trying to hold back the river. So instead of trying to just blank your mind, if we give it something else to focus on, it can be even more useful to get into meditative states. So here's kind of these top 4 elements in meditation. The relaxed state, which you're probably relaxed, comfortable. Your body must be comfortable so it doesn't get distracted. That 3rd piece, the passive attitude, letting your mind kind of just letting thoughts go by rather than noticing the thoughts or attaching to a thought. And then the focal point. So the focal point, the passive attitude and the focal point is where a lot of meditation practices, they have different ways of doing the passive attitude or the focal point. But having a focal point can then give your mind something to do. So instead of trying to hold back the river, now you're directing your mind, because our monkey mind likes to be busy. So this next exercise that we're going to go through, we're going to up this meditation a little bit to 5 minutes. But in this, I'm going to kind of share some visuals, some imagery. And what we're going to do is just think about sitting on the ocean beach. Sitting on the ocean beach, I'm going to walk you through just a little bit to get you started with this. But if you're giving your mind something to do with this, it can be much easier for your mind to achieve that clarity, that no thought, that blank. So this exercise that I'm going to take you through, I actually share it when I do the wellness and the stress relief programs, because it's so obvious how quickly these meditation states can affect your body, even at a physical level. So I introduce, stress relief, and before we start this 5-minute meditation, I have people take their pulse, and you can get a number from your pulse before, and then after we take pulse again. And it's amazing that sometimes those heart rate measures will drop even 20 points per minute, which is, that's an involuntary thing. We're not supposed to be able to mentally control our heart rate. But what we think about has an effect on our body and how we feel and how well your body does. And how much your body can move into either a stress response or into a self-healing state, which is what we want the body to do. So our next exercise here is the easy 5-minute meditation. We're going to visualize being at the ocean shore. I'm going to walk you through maybe the first minute or so, and then I'm going to leave that 5-minute window. And as we go through this experience, I want you to really get into it as much as you can. Imagine, get really tactile, get sensory with it. Imagine being there. You might even have a certain ocean scene or a favorite ocean shore. And what do you see? What are you watching? The waves of the ocean. What are you hearing? Go through all of your senses. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you taste? Maybe you even taste the salt droplets on your mouth. So the more you can dive into that experience of letting your mind dive into it, the more rich this experience will be for you. And it takes practice like anything. So just enjoy as we're going through, and just notice as we're going through how it works for you. Okay, so for this exercise, go ahead, and you might even move your muscles around. Just let yourself adjust into your chair, sit back, relax, get comfortable. I usually like to start my meditation with 3 clearing breaths. And this also does something that we'll talk about in a moment, but it helps your mind to recognize that you're intentionally clearing your breath and also clearing your mind. So take in a deep clearing breath, breathing that breath into your lungs, filling your lungs, holding that breath, gather up stress, tension, worry, focus it into your lungs, and release it as you exhale. The next breath, breathing in deeply into your lungs and holding that breath, gather up stress, tension, worry, focus it into your lungs and release it as you exhale. And just allowing your mind and body system to feel more relaxed with every breath. One more deep clearing breath, breathing that breath in. And again, filling up your lungs with that breath. Gather up stress, tension, worry, focus it into your lungs. And release it as you exhale. And now just focus on your breath. That's our focal point. Just focusing on your breath. As it moves in through your nose, as it moves into your lungs, as the breath moves throughout your body, and releasing, and just breathing easily, naturally, noticing your gentle flow of breath. And now in your mind's eye, you can just go ahead in your mind. You can do this with your eyes open, your eyes closed. I recommend with your eyes closed, as you might find it easier to visualize or imagine. And in your mind's eye, just let that vision of that ocean shore come into your mind. And you might even pick a memory, a favorite time or place where you're sitting on the ocean shore, looking out across the vastness of the ocean. You might even feel the sand underneath your feet, or watching those waves as they wash upon the shore, and noticing the rhythm of those waves as they wash upon the shore. You might even see the sunlight glinting off the waves, or even hearing the sounds of birds in the background. You might even hear the sounds of the waves washing on shore, or even feel the sand underneath you, feeling the temperature of the air. You might even smell the salt water, the salt in the air. You might even taste the salt in the air, tasting the humidity, feeling it against your skin. Allow yourself to really dive into this imagining, this exercise. I'm going to set the 5 minutes. Just imagine being there on the ocean shore. See what you are seeing. Hear what you're hearing. Feel what you're feeling. Taste. Smell. Let all of your senses dive into the experience as if you're there now. All right, we made it 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to open up the lines. We're going to share a little bit. Is everybody still there? Okay, so we got to experience, I'm going to unmute, because we're a small group tonight. Everybody can chat. There we go. Okay, so now we gave the mind something to focus on. So one, we started with those 3 breaths. That also helps to start that focal point, right? To have something to focus on. That's a very common strategy, even to just sit and focus on your breathing. Has anyone heard of that strategy before? I think they do it with yoga quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that breath really kind of connects you to your body. It gives your mind something to focus on. So now instead of it bouncing around with your to-do list, it's like, oh yeah, I need to focus on the breath. So that can be a good strategy to get started. And then I kind of gave a little bit of background, like painting the scene at the ocean shore, and then just had you kind of step into that for 5 minutes. So what did you guys notice about that as you're imagining being at the ocean shore?
It was a lot more pleasant to think about an actual scene or a picture, because then you can get creative with it. And for me, the beach and the ocean are relaxing, meditative places for me. So it's just kind of pleasant to have your mind sit there and think about all the things that you love about it and just take yourself back there again. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Jennifer?
It's also one of my favorite places to just go and be. And it was interesting because I thought of one beach and my brain jumped to another one. And I kind of went from and then I kind of noticed what I thought about it, like how the sand was different, how the, one was freezing in Boston and then one was in Greece. You know what I mean? Like I kind of it was interesting that my brain jumped to another one and it was a different, like I know, because you say, notice those, how you feel, how you, and it was different feelings, which made the time fly by. I mean, much faster.
Faster.
It's easier to kind of dive into that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's also a useful tool, is to put a timer on your phone so you don't have to worry. Like I was kind of watching the clock because, of course, I don't want to fall asleep while I'm doing class. In fact, I was like, oh yeah, that'll be next class. We'll just put the timer on, and then, blank out, and I won't have to say anything for like an hour, and you guys could just meditate. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But you might try that this week. Like, see if you think about positive memory. So here's one way. Most people have some, a beach is kind of a universal experience for people. They either live by water or they've gone to water, and it can be very meditative. And usually it's pretty peaceful, or we have very positive memories. We're on vacation, we're with friends, we're self-reflecting, or in positive states. So as we go to a memory of a time or place, our brain is also picking up that emotional information that was connected at the time. So thinking of a positive experience, a positive time, a positive place, can also put you into an uplifted mood or state of mind. And then giving your mind something to do. So the mind is like, yeah, we have something to do. I'm going to imagine a beach. I'm great at beaches. Like for Jennifer, it's like, beaches. What are all the beaches I've been to? And it's collecting all of that information. That's kind of similar to how your unconscious mind processes. So when you say a beach, it's starting to go through all of its beach files to recognize those memories, those times, and those places. Whether you're consciously aware of them or not, is kind of lumping them together into our experience, our association to a beach. So I haven't actually heard of anybody that has a negative association to it. I'm sure there are people out there with negative associations, but it's kind of that thing that we can tune our mind into a state by thinking of a memory. So one is a way to meditate. You can think of a time or place that maybe you did meditate, or that maybe you were going into a meditative state. So you can think of a memory, or you can also just imagine. And that imagining exercise can be a meditative state too. Any insights, comments about that?
Nope.
So, and if you give your mind something to do, that's where you start really tapping into that timelessness. So that's another reason to set a timer so you don't have to think about it. There's an app I have on my phone. You might have heard of it, Insight Timer. It's free, and it'll show you all of the people that are meditating across the world at that time. You know, so it's kind of like a social media meditation timer, but it gives you a bell and you can choose your sound, and that's kind of a fun way to practice. So one, you set the timer, you don't have to think about the time, and then you're just diving into an experience, right? Okay, so the next one we're going to cover today is we're going to do another 5-minute window. And like that, this is probably the easiest, one of my favorite strategies or techniques for meditation, but it's giving your mind, because it's like your conscious mind is active, busy, it wants to have things to do. So we're going to just give it some imagery to play with or work with. So this one is that we'll kind of go through some breaths, which can help cue your mind into, okay, we're letting go of the day, we're starting to meditate. So one, having something consistent at the beginning, whether you're taking in a deep couple breaths. In the hypnosis that I do, I also like to imagine light kind of washing through your body, washing away, you know, stress, worry, etc. That also has some good metaphoric or symbolic representation to our unconscious mind as well. But what we're going to do is just go through those deep breaths, and then I'll add in that light sequence because I like it and it's kind of fun, and you might enjoy it in your practice as well. And then we're going to open up into a scene in your mind, is to think of a moving stream. And you're going to see this moving stream. And when any thought comes up, so this is the easy way to achieve that blank mind. When any thought comes up in your mind, imagine turning it into a leaf and dropping it on the water and watching the water carry that thought away. So now we're giving the mind something to do with those thoughts that keep running through, rather than trying to hold back the stream or hold back traffic. We're going to just tell your mind, okay, if a thought comes up, turn it into a leaf, drop it on the water, and watch it float away. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. So I have a visual to share with this. So here's just the screen for the easy 5-minute meditation. Is just started with 3 deep breaths, and then we did relaxing into the moment and then envisioning. And we'll come back to that. So here's the easy way to achieve that blank mind, is to be the observer, but we're also going to give your mind something to do. So we're going to imagine a little bit of scenery. Again, you can kind of dive into that scenery as much as you can. The sensory, what do you see, hear, taste, touch? What are you smelling, right? So we're going to imagine just being on the river shore. And when a thought comes up, imagine turning the thought into a leaf, dropping it into the water, and watching the water just carry it away. So now we're giving your mind something to do with those thoughts. Thoughts are like this moving stream anyway. But now that we give your mind something to do, you'll find this way to blank your mind or to achieve that no thought. It's much easier because your mind has something to do. So I'm going to start the time here. Again, we're just doing 5 minutes. I'm going to give just a little bit of setup, and then I'm going to just give you the quiet space that you can do this within your own mind. So go ahead, sit back, relax, get comfortable, and taking in a deep, gentle breath, breathing that breath in, Filling up your lungs, holding that breath. Gather up stress, tension, worry. Focus it into your lungs and release it as you exhale. Taking in another deep, gentle breath. Breathing that breath in, holding that breath. Gather up stress, tension, worry. Focus it into your lungs and release it as you exhale. And just allowing your mind and body system to feel more and more relaxed. With every breath, one more deep clearing breath, breathing in. Holding that breath, gather up stress, tension, worry, focus it into your lungs, and release it as you exhale. And now we're going to add in that sequence of the light washing through. So now go ahead and imagine that healing light, much like the light of the sun, as if it's shining down through the top of your head, letting it flow through your face, your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your back, letting that healing light pour through your body as if it's washing away the stress, the worry, letting it wash through your body. And now in your mind's eye, opening up to that scene of being at the river's edge. And it might be one that you've been to before. It might be one that's completely imagined. Whatever scene, let that come to mind. And allow yourself to really get into that experience of it, the feel of it. Imagine sitting on the shore, watching the water as it floats by. And with any thought that comes up, just notice the thought, as if you could turn it into a leaf and drop it in the water, or watch the water carry it away. With every thought, turn it into a leaf, drop the leaf into the water, and watch the river carry it away. And now I'm going to just give you that quiet space that you can allow your mind to dive into the scenery, the experience of the river's edge. And notice the thoughts as they come up. Turn it into a leaf, drop it into the water, and watch it disappear. All right. So we're gonna stop the screen share, open up the windows here, and you both unmuted? Very good. So how was that exercise for you?
It was good. It was just like the other one. It's easier when there was something for me to focus on actively, like a river that I'd been to before. And then if I noticed myself thinking, to visualize a leaf and watching it float away. So there weren't any emotions or anything really attached to it. I didn't dwell on it. I just turned it into something that you could just toss into a river.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Jennifer?
I wish mine was mine wasn't quite that easy to let it go. It was interesting that I was like, I didn't know how to like let it go. And then all of a sudden I was like, change the color of the leaf. And I kept changing the color of the leaf, and just to make it at least concentrate on that instead of like, and then at one point I'm like, it was sitting on the leaf, and I was laughing because I was like, so it's floating down the river on the leaf. And I'm like, no, that's, it's just it's interesting how your mind works, right? Obviously it was overthinking. I know. It was the symphony that was floating on. I mean, I was thinking about the symphony meeting tomorrow. It was just funny how my brain jumped around.
Right.
But
if you have something, if you have something in your life, like a big presentation or something you're worried about, it's going to be a little more challenging to like remove yourself from it, to let yourself be that observer of it. So your mind's like, hey, what about this? What about this?
You're trying to overcompensate, get rid of the thought.
So what I love about this one, it's so simple and it's easy. Again, like being in nature is often very meditative in and of itself. So when we're spending time in nature, our brain is naturally slowing its brainwave. We're feeling more calm naturally in nature. We're feeling more, uplifted mood, or all of the trees around you, or the scenery can kind of put us into that boosted mood. And now instead of fighting our monkey mind, we're putting it in charge we're giving it something to do, right? That it's helping to carry away those thoughts. So some of these exercises you might connect with easier than others. So just pay attention to what works for you, what your mind is doing for you. So like we've just covered 3 tonight, 3 of those forms. One is trying to just blank your mind, which most people have a hard time with that one. And that's where they feel like they can't meditate or they get too distracted. So now if we just do one, is you can imagine scenery anywhere. You could imagine even being on the moon and exploring the moon. And that just giving your mind something to do can kind of put you into that meditative state, that even like daydreaming state. And then I really like the leaf on the water when I want to just get calm or clear. And then next time that we focus, we'll start taking these into more of the self-hypnosis states. It's not, so I like to explain it this way. So meditation is kind of that doorway to creating that quiet mind, to quieting down the monkey mind. And in that window where you're starting to move into, you're getting into more of an alpha brainwave state, you're expanding your awareness of your inner world. You start to open up the awareness. There might be negative thoughts that you're thinking. Oh, could you pull it out, turn it into a leaf and let it wash away? So there might be, you start to open up your awareness to your inner world. What thoughts are you thinking? What feelings are you feeling? And now as we get into self-hypnosis states, so that meditation is kind of the doorway to that, to the quiet mind. But then it's like self-hypnosis and hypnosis goes from meditative states into forward motion. So now that you've achieved this quiet state of mind, what do you want your mind to do? And that's where we start moving into the hypnosis, self-hypnosis, is giving the mind new things to focus on, that it can do things for us in our day-to-day life.
Great.
So you both have some tools to start working with. Even just the breath, I am added in that white light sequence. So we have the breath, the white light sequence, Then you can either imagine a positive scene, like a memory, or being at the ocean shore, or doing the leaf on water. So this week, pick a time that you want to be consistent with developing a daily practice, even 5 minutes. Like that first one that we did of sitting at the ocean shore. When I take people through that, even 5 minutes, it can reduce heart rate, it can reduce blood pressure, it can take your mind and body out of stress mode and get it into rest and digest mode. And we'll be talking about how that really enhances your body's ability for self-healing, for health issues, even boosting your immune system. But even if it's just 5 minutes this week, I also suggest starting with 5 minutes, because you guys have experienced what that's like, even just 5 minutes with the exercises we've done. And then even every day adding another minute. So 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So that's kind of building up your inner meditation muscle. Again, if you set the timer, you don't have to worry about the time, and you can allow yourself to tap into that timelessness. And then next week that we meet at the same time, we'll be going, how do we take those quiet states of mind into expanding them even more into daily life? Any questions about what we covered so far?
No, thank you.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I have one more quick exercise to share. And this is, oops, I don't want to leave meeting. I clicked the wrong button. Okay.
That'd be an interesting lesson. I left the
This
meeting.
is fun to share. Blank your mind.
Surprise.
Right. So here is level 1 of self-hypnosis. The relaxation response. We'll be talking about this more as we go into more of the self-healing aspects. Okay. So here's the self-hypnosis exercise that I want you to do this week as well. And we're going to be using positive statements. So we want to get some positive messages into your unconscious mind, your automatic mind for you. So come up with a positive phrase, and we're going to use repetition. And you're going to say this positive phrase 10 times before you fall asleep at night. So as you're getting yourself tucked into bed, have your positive phrase. And now, instead of counting, because we can count in our mind, and it's distracting, I want you to think of the positive phrase, but you can just tap a finger with each one. So you have 10 fingers, right? And so that can help you keep track. And repeat the statement to yourself 10 times before you fall asleep. So we're using a positive focus, we're using repetition, and we're using a sleep state to help your mind integrate that positive phrase. Now here's something to be aware of. As you're picking your positive statement, be aware of the words that you use. The words that you use direct your mind and your focus. And there's a part of your mind that translates words into mental pictures. So when you create your positive statement, make sure it doesn't have a negative. Don't have a don't, or don't have a not. So for example, don't say, I'm not going to eat sugar anymore, because what is your mind focusing on? What is it picturing, right? Or if I say, I'm going to ask you not to do something, can you agree to not do it? Consciously, we get what don't is. Don't think of a yellow butterfly, because as you do, it's going to turn blue and fly right out the door. What does your mind do? It has to picture it to make sense of those words that you're using. And these mental pictures speak directly to your automatic mind, your unconscious mind. So even when you say things like, I'm not going to eat sugar anymore, what is your mind focusing on, or what mental pictures is your mind creating? It's picturing sugar. It's picturing, oh, there's sugar, there's ice cream, there's chocolate in the cupboard, whatever it is, it's picturing all of these forms of sugar, right? So you want to make sure that the words that you use are directing your mind in the way that you want to direct it. So for instance, I might say, I'm eating healthy fruits and vegetables instead of, I'm not going to eat sugar anymore. So if you're not doing the not, the don't, what do you want your mind to be doing instead? So really think about and dial in a positive message for yourself this week. And then here's some action steps. Find a time that you want to be consistent. My time for myself, I tend to do better with the morning time. But after work can be a great time, or even if you have a lunch break at work, can be a wonderful time. Or getting ready for my day, that's when I like to meditate. So just pick a time that you can be consistent with. Even 5 minutes, 10 minutes is a great way to just get started, and it can make a huge difference. You might even set an alarm on your phone for that time, because so many of us get into our routine and we don't think about adding in that daily practice. But set it into your phone or your calendar and keep that time, even if it's 5 minutes. Do the self-hypnosis exercise. And I'm going to send out this video to watch the placebo effect documentary, and we'll be talking about that in the next couple times that we meet. And to share a quote with you, the quality of your life is only as good as the quality of your moments. So if we can really tune our brain into that inner calm, that inner clarity, moment by moment, we're building a greater quality of life from the time that we're investing in building our meditation muscle. And here's some resources. I'll send these out as well. The book that I mentioned is The Relaxation Response by Herbert Benson. The Silva Mind Control Method is by John Silva. It's more of these meditative states applied to athletes and the research with that. And then the article, Top 20 Benefits of Meditation Proven by Science. It has all of the links to the research with that, and I'll send that out to you as well. I also invite you to join the Facebook group, Lighter You, NLP-Hypnosis, and Natural Health Vitality, where we're applying meditation and self-hypnosis specifically to our own self-healing. And then here's my main website, thebraintrainerllc.com/health. And you can schedule a session if you run into a mental block or something that you want a little more help or focus with. And I'm going to stop the share and open up the lines again. All right, so we'll see you on the next one. And I'm going to just go around the room really quickly. What's one valuable nugget that you got from today, or something that you connected with?
The healing light that you talked about, that I really connected with that. Like I could feel that working. And that was a concept that was new to me that I'm going to try this week.
Great, great.
I like that. Mine is just really overall. I really, like, today was kind of a crazy day and I almost didn't come. And it's amazing how my brain has already just slowed down. Like, you know what I mean? I just feel like, oh, today was crazy and now I don't feel so crazy. So it's it tells me, okay, do this.
Right. It's nice to have that like contrast, you know.
Right. It really was a crazy day.
It really works in just a few minutes. I can, yeah. Great.
So that was good.
All right. So pick your time, create a positive statement, and then I'll send out some of those resources for you as well so that they're easy to follow. And sorry, we're over like 12 minutes. It always goes by so fast, you know. That's all right. We'll see you next week, you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.